Hi there, Pat Croce here, and this is the American Cancer Society's HEALED Community Gathering. HEALED, H-E-A-L-E-D, health and energy through active living every day, no days off, none. I would like to thank all of you for participating in our HEALED movement, and especially those who went to acshealed.com, made a little donation, and are wearing your HEALED bracelet with pride. That's right. That little green bead means we're in this all together. I'd like to thank 6ABC, who is our presenting media sponsor, and all of our leadership partners, the 30 of you who ponied up enough money so that the HEALED research is going on, as we discussed, right now in the present moment in Atlanta at headquarters, using 400 variety of diagnoses of cancer to ensure that all cancer survivors know exactly what they can and should be doing once they've had their treatment plan, whether it was chemo, radiation, surgery, instead of just sitting on the couch. We want to get people up and invigorate them with health and energy through active living every day. It is our intention here at HEALED to inspire you, encourage you, inform you, educate you so that you don't suffer. And the best way not to suffer is to be in the present moment with us. So for the next hour, just let all your thoughts from the past go. Any expectations, anticipations of the future, let them go. And just spend some time with me. And we do that with a moment of stillness. So just rest your attention lovingly and gently on the sound of this bell. How beautiful is that? That's the doorbell to our HEALED gathering. Come on in, leave your baggage on the front porch. It'll be there in an hour when you want to leave, because we have some great guests for you today. Our first, we usually use a specialist to give you more information about how to deal, how to diagnose, how to prevent care for our various forms of cancer, as well as our warrior. And this warrior is a warrioress in more ways than one. But first, we start with our specialist, Dr. William Regine. Now, I have his bio, but it would take the entire hour to talk about this man. He's amazing. Let me just say he's the chairman and professor of radiation oncology at the University of Maryland, and he's got all these other things. I'll let him talk to you about it, because I want to know how someone of his brilliance even gets involved in medicine when he could have chose anything. Dr. William Regine, come on.
How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing great, Doc. Thank you for joining us. I know you're busy. Yeah. And Doc, my first question goes back to exactly why medicine? With that IQ of yours and everything you've done with this field of oncology, why medicine? I like to go back to that moment where you said, this would interest me.
Yeah, well, that was, it's interesting because I have 49 first cousins, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm the first one to graduate from college, a blue-collar family. My parents were born in Italy.
Oh, wow.
There was no thought about medicine. All my parents cared about when they called me at school is, did you eat? What did you eat? That's all. But I did well in school. I was a chem major. But really, for me, it was... it was the ability to impact people's lives as I looked into their faces. And I did some volunteer work when I was in college in an emergency room. And I actually thought I was going to go into emergency medicine. And to look into people's eyes as you could change their life's course with some split-second decisions, I was like, this is for me. But you know how I got into radiation oncology?
No, how?
I was doing emergency medicine. You'll like this. I was actually... I was one of the gym rats. I went to Syracuse University for medicine. And so every day I played with a bunch of guys basketball. And me and this guy got in a little bit of a tussle in the middle of a game. And after the game, we went up to each other. We apologized to each other. And I said, and he asked me what I did. I said, oh, I'm a second-year medical student. And I said, what do you do? And he says, well, I'm the chief resident in radiation oncology. And I was like, radiation oncology, what is that? Tell me all about it.
I thought you were telling me you played with Derek Coleman or something.
No. I actually played. I don't know if you knew, but Hal Cohen was a guy at Syracuse.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Great jump shooter. Try to fix this camera. There you go.
There you go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Okay, so all of a sudden he tells you he's the chief of radiation
Oncology, brings in physics and biology, and I said, you know what? The difference between that and emergency medicine, I can see these patients through their journey, and then as they continue their journey as survivors. So I fell in love with it, and that ability to impact the lives of patients and then develop that relationship that's long lasting is just something I get blessed with and gratification every day at work. And that in emergency medicine is great too, but many of those patients you don't see after you take care of them, right? I have long relationships with many of my patients, and I enjoy it very much.
No doubt, I can see that right from the get-go. You got that good Italian genes, and you can really touch them physically and mentally. So you started out though at Children's at St. Jude's, right?
Yep, that was my first job, and that is a phenomenal institution. Anything we need for kids and helping those families deal with stress. You know, St. Jude is true to its word, right? People came to St. Jude, we took care of them, and they did not have to worry about cost. That was never an issue. They didn't
have to worry about the cost.
The cost, yeah. St. Jude, your care is taken care of.
Wow.
You know, take your insurance. If you don't have insurance, they will take care of the kid. That's a unique, very unique environment. I got to meet Marlo Thomas. Of course, her dad had already passed away. Super woman, super devotion as a family, and the OutSAC organization to, you know, making the lives of children's cancer a different journey, one of more survivorship than not.
And when you were at St. Jude, did you not only treat, but you did research?
Yeah, I did. My main research was in pediatric brain tumors and in pediatric soft tissue sarcomas, rhabdomyosarcoma being the area where I made some impactful changes in how those patients were managed. I did that for 2 years, and the truth is, as much as I enjoyed it, I really missed. And I guess there was this emotional connection that and maybe it's my Italian. I get very connected with my patients, and it was a little bit more challenging as I started having kids of my own, to watch some of these kids go through what they went through. And not that it's that much easier, but I decided to go back into adult specialty, and I did a fellowship in head and neck cancer and GI malignancies, and that's where I went to University of Kentucky at St. Jude, and eventually wound up here at Maryland. I've been here for 20 years now, chairman of the department, and you know, great place. Every modality you can imagine is here. Baltimore is a great city. Has 2 great cancer institutions, University of Maryland, Johns Hopkins, and so it's a great environment to be in, and we're making differences in the lives of patients every day.
Well, and you're making a difference in more ways than one, because now you are like this expert. You wrote the book literally on stereotactic body radiation therapy, SBRT. What is that? Never heard of it.
Yeah, so it's stereotactic radiosurgery, which can be done in the brain or the body, and it's a way of delivering very high-focused precision radiation to relatively smaller targets. So it can be a lung tumor, a pancreas tumor, a tumor in the brain, in a way that allows you to deliver very high dose with minimal damage to the surrounding organs, like the brain or the lung or the bowel. And it's changing the course of treatment. Years ago, and still to this day, many patients, I don't know if you had radiation, but some patients will go to 5-6 weeks of radiation. Now, with this new technology, being able to deliver it so much more precisely, we can get patients' treatments done in 3 to 5 days.
Oh my goodness.
And this is the key part, which I'm excited about. I think of radiation as the non-invasive form of surgery, right? Chemo works all over the body. Surgery cuts out that tumor, and radiation treats the tumor you see in the body. And now with some of these higher forms, precision radiation, proton therapy that we have here at University of Maryland, the vision for my department is becoming increasingly true, and that is to eliminate or minimize the use of surgery in the care of cancer.
Wow.
So people aren't going to continue to have their tumors cut out.
So how practical and possible is that?
Oh, look, I think in 5 to 10 years, if you're still in Philly, remember the Mummers Museum?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I think the scalpel will later be laid to rest in the Mummers Museum as we combine this high precision radiation with things like immunotherapy and do things to enhance the immune reaction for patients to deal with their cancer. I think surgery is going to be used less and less.
So for this SBR, how is one patient a candidate and another patient not?
Probably the most common reason is the size. So, if a tumor is relatively, and I'm saying, let's say 4 to 5 centimeters, and no more than 4 to 5 centimeters in size, which is a couple of inches, that's usually a candidate for a stereotactic body or stereotactic radiosurgery in the brain. When it gets too much larger, then that ability to deliver the radiation concentrating that way gets lost, and you end up getting more dose to the surrounding tissue. But it might mean instead of 5 treatments, you might have to do 10, 15, 20 treatments. You just have to do it slower.
And were you involved in the research that demonstrated the effectiveness of this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially in the brain, is probably what I'm most known for. Some of my work now is in pancreas cancer, and now the sort of lead advance with stereotactic body radiation is to do it with proton radiation, because protons, it's essentially a physical difference with standard radiation. Because it's a charged particle, you can pick a point in the body where the tumor is, the particle will go in and then literally, lack of a better word, explode into the tumor and deposit all the radiation there with little or no radiation going past that point.
Wow.
And 10 years ago, we might have had 15 proton centers. Now, because of some of the advances with proton therapy, there are about 40 in the country. And you'll see that, again, is another slow advance to eventually get us to minimize or eliminate the use of surgery in the treatment of cancer.
That'd be beautiful. Because I remember as a physical therapist back in the 70s, where I was in school, arthroscopic surgery was relatively new. And they thought they eventually won't have to open up knee joints. They won't have to open up shoulders. They can just go in with a 1-inch scar or and you're thinking, come on now.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Those things we see in the movies in Star Trek and Star Wars with the medical doctors, it's going to happen. You'll go in, you'll just walk, and in our case, you walk into the radiation machine, you continue to work, you come in for a half hour, get your treatment, and you go back and do what you want to do.
So I have to ask you, doctor, is there any side effect to the radiation treatment when you're doing it on the brain?
Usually acutely during the treatment, there's very little. Most patients don't notice things during treatment. There's, I would say, a 95% chance of no severe risk following the treatment, but there's about a 5% chance, because that tumor lays in the middle of this healthy brain tissue, that rind of tissue that surrounds the tumor, that you could have some effect on the brain tissue, depending what part of the brain it is. It could be a memory effect, it could be a visual effect. But with modern radiation, it's so rare now to see these effects.
I only ask because I had minimum 15 sessions, radiation sessions for T-cell
lymphoma
on my chest, but I did have a reaction on my skin. And you would think that this Italian Pasquale croce wouldn't have it, but I'm half Irish. I say I'm a volatile mix of Gaelic.
That's the Irish side coming out. How many years ago was that, Pat?
One.
1 year ago, and you had a skin reaction.
1.5, yeah. Oh, I had it. And even the doc said it's rare. Only maybe 15% get it. But
yeah. Well, remember, it's just like laying in the sun, right? There are some people who are very sensitive to radiation, which the sun is, and some who are not. So you didn't get the olive oil gene, apparently.
That heating going through the brain to get to that involved area causes any side effects or any, and you're saying no, maybe at the most 5%.
Yeah, in terms of any significant side effect that the patient notices, 95% chance they won't have anything.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That
That's
is-
different than it was 20, 30 years ago, but it's gotten dramatically better for sure. And now radiation used in 60% of cancer patients who get diagnosed have radiation as part of their care. Obviously, you fall into 60% who've had radiation. But it's again, the ability to check this. I'm sure a year ago, before they delivered the radiation, there was a scan that came around you, took a picture, checked your position. Those things we didn't have 20, 30 years ago. So it's so much more precise than it was.
And now, so you do radiation treatments, you do research, you write articles. How do you do all of this?
With a team. I got a phenomenal team of people around me who really enable not only what I can do in terms of research and be part of a research team, but even more importantly, enable the care a cancer patient has well beyond when they see the doc, right? And one thing is we're fortunate, thanks to the American Cancer Society, we have something called the Hope Lodge. You know what the Hope Lodge is?
I want to know everything about the Hope from you, from Julie.
So the Hope Lodge is absolutely phenomenal. So imagine there are some high-end cancer modalities that you can't have at every community site in the country, right? For example, proton radiation or hypothermia. We have that in downtown Baltimore. The Hope Lodge is a place the American Cancer Society provides for patients while during their care for cancer, and often radiation, which can be 5 to 6 weeks long, they get to stay at no cost. Now, that's nice. I mean, our Hope Lodge last year, saved like $10 million in hotel costs for patients. We have 26 rooms, and they more importantly than just get the savings of not having to pay for a hotel, it becomes an internal support group, right? So those rooms are typically filled. There's almost a 2-week wait list, and we're excited. We're in this middle of this $10 million campaign to move across the street and expand it by 30%, add 8 more rooms. But for our patients, imagine getting your treatments in a place you don't live, but you need to be there because there's a particular type of cancer therapy you're not going to be able to get back home. You go to the Hope Lodge, and you get to share your cancer journey with all the other 26 rooms of cancer patients. So this becomes an internal support network. Patients rave about it. They love it. People come in from the outside. We've even had the Ravens cheerleaders come in and provide dinner, pre-COVID at least, for the Hope Lodge patients. But it's a, and I watched the way you opened the show, right? So much of success, I would believe, is affected by how you manage the stress of your cancer journey. So imagine how the Hope Lodge eliminates the financial concern of having a place to stay and the stress that you might not be able to have. You might not otherwise would have had access to this cutting edge therapy or clinical trial if it wasn't for the Hope Lodge.
So in addition to that, and I don't know the Hope Lodge. I know the Ronald McDonald House for Children's Hospital. Yeah. But so in addition to the elimination of this financial burden, in addition to being able to get this treatment that you might not have otherwise gotten, you have 26 rooms where misery loves company. And you see these other patients who may, in fact, be worse off than you.
Exactly.
It's a wonderful idea to have this bond of a team of.
And they become friends. So they're in the Hope Lodge stuff. There's a huge dining area, a common dining area. They all share a kitchen, and they get together daily for meals and fellowship. And it really is an amazing thing to see. Patients become longtime friends for sure.
I want to come back to the Hope Lodge, especially when we have our warrior next guest on. But before I let you go and put you on the bench, and then I'll bring you back again, I didn't want to skim over this. How do you do all that you do in a day's work? And you said you have a great team. So I want to know from your perspective, when you tell me team, then I want to know from your perspective as the champion of the team, the director of the team, the leader of the team, the CEO of the team, what are your 3 secrets to organizing and managing a good team?
One, we only have people on our team who start with a good soul.
Oh,
I'm a big believer in the power of nice.
oh,
All right, so power of nice. 2, that the individuals we have here realize that as stressful as our own individual lives can be, we always fall back to remember who we're here to serve, and that's the cancer patient. And they have much more stress than we have. My wife, I'll go home and my wife told me, gee, the roof could be falling and I might not get upset. And I'll go, I just left a person who's my age, has 3 kids, and has got a brain tumor. We're trying to get rid of it. So 2, they keep that perspective of what a position they are in to help people through an extraordinarily challenging time and get through that. And then 3, actually believe in the concept that we achieve more working together as a team than as an individual. So I score people's success because everybody gets evaluated. How did you make the team and the people around you better? And you're like this one. You know how I show some appreciation, Pat?
no.
Just today, I had a meeting with one of my team members who's doing some amazing stuff in our biology lab. I keep a dozen bottles. I'm Italian, right? I have a dozen bottles of wine under my desk, and I go through them pretty quick because a lot of appreciation to my team by giving them a bottle of wine to enjoy.
See, I love that. I love that recognition is even better and stronger than remuneration. It's just that give them so the power of nice. Remember who you serve and believe in the team. This whole team concept. Now, before I let you go, this is too good because I wasn't expecting this answer, especially the soul. But like these books that you've written relative to the stereotactic body radiation, do you say anything about your success in leadership?
Do
In
I?
the action of it?
No. Do I say success about mine? No. It's all about, I score my success by how successful the people I serve around me. I guess I'm a servant type leader.
So let me ask one more question, though. I love that servant leadership, but you can show people how to use your SBRT with maximum efficiency, but you have a secret formula because it's your team and your impetus and encouragement in the team and motivation and inspiration in the team that fulfills the policies and procedures that make this work, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell people when you go for radiation oncology, high technology, complex therapy, I explain, some of my patients get this. You or I were asked to get behind a NASCAR and drive it around the track, yeah, we might get it to 150. We got it to 200, we'd probably crash it. But Jimmy Johnson or some of these famous NASCAR drivers, they have that expertise. That's what I have. But what those same drivers would tell you is they have this unbelievable team behind them that get that technology to be where it's supposed to be successful on the track. Well, that's what we do at radio. I have physicists, dosimetrists, radiation therapists. All of those people have to come together to allow me to drive that NASCAR radiation delivery curing technology to be most successful for the patient and the survivorship.
What a beautiful metaphor. That's so you get behind the wheel and you just sit on the bench for a little while and change the tires, and then I'll bring you back. Thanks,
Right.
Doc.
See you in a little bit.
Well, I love that guy. And you're going to love this next. My warrior goddess today, Julie Walker. And she is more than just a warrioress in surviving cancer. But I will let Julie tell the story. Come on, Julie. Hello.
Hi there, Pat. How are you?
I am great, and I should say she's a retired Lieutenant Colonel, Julie Walker, and great to have you. Great to have you. And I want you, before we talk about your adaptive athletics and your Wounded Warriors story, tell us a little bit about your diagnosis.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. It's great to be here. So for me, I'm one of those people who actually found my own cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, just happened to be one morning and had my hand over my chest and felt something on my chest that in the lower part of my breast that wasn't there before. It felt different. It felt a little bit hard, and it kind of scared me. So literally, I went to the emergency room. I was in.
And what year was that?
That was in 2012. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was the very end of 2011 that I found this lump, this something there hard in my chest. And so it shocked me, went to the emergency room. I don't know what I thought they could do, but I thought maybe they could do an ultrasound and tell me if it was a cyst or something. And they did. They did an ultrasound and they said, we see something, but we're not breast people. You need to go to a breast center. So I was active duty military at the time. So I went to a military base, got a referral, went to the breast center, and I think they did some additional imaging. And they really said 70-30, it's probably nothing, but we recommend you get an MRI and some follow-up and a biopsy. So after getting all of that, I got the phone call and those 3 words you don't ever want to hear: you have cancer. So
Where were you when you heard this?
Say that again.
Where were you when you heard those words?
You know what? I was on Thanksgiving break, literally like getting ready to eat Thanksgiving dinner, and got a phone call. So pretty shocking. When they called, they said, you have bilateral breast cancer. We need you to get in and do some more testing to see if it has spread and, all the rest of it. So honestly, I went to the internet. I didn't know exactly what to do. I did not have a family history of breast cancer or cancer in general. So I just started searching, and Johns Hopkins popped up, and I called the number. It was completely the wrong office. It was a research office, but they told me where I needed to go, and I asked for a second opinion, and I got that second opinion from Johns Hopkins, and they said to me, we're getting something a little bit different than what the military base was getting, but we think, unfortunately, that the cancer has spread to your lymph nodes. So, but we think we can treat it. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And it was a lot. It was really a lot. Ended up doing a double.
Define for us, Julie, what is a lot?
So,
because you've gone through a lot. So if you're saying it's a lot, it must be a lot on steroids.
It was a lot to take in, but it was also a lot on my body. I needed aggressive treatment to be able to survive. And I wanted the best opportunity to survive. So I said, let's do it. I ended up doing a radical double mastectomy. So I did the surgery first. Then I did chemotherapy. Then I did radiation therapy, 7 weeks, 5 days a week. Then I did reconstruction, almost just over 24 surgeries for reconstruction. Wow. So that was a lot. But I'm here. I made it. Some side effects, but you press on.
So where you were still in the military, did you go back into active duty after the radiation and the chemo and all the therapies?
I did. So I was active duty the whole time. And I'm grateful I was, because it was challenging. Being in the military, of course, you want to go full speed, 100%. Hardcore, and I just wasn't able to do that, but I was able to take that break, get my treatment, and in between all of this that I'm talking about, I was back at work. And at the time I was stationed at the Pentagon, so there was a lot of pressure that I felt, But I also had great teammates around me and leadership that supported me and really encouraged me to, take care of me. And that was very helpful to me.
So take us now, fast forward 6 years later to 2018.
I go in, talking to my oncologist, and I'm said to him, I'm having some pretty severe head pain. I don't call it a headache because it wasn't a headache or a migraine. It was head pain. And he said, let's do some imaging. They did and found a brain tumor.
Oh,
I'll never forget the words on the report that said conceivably metastatic disease. That means we think the breast cancer has spread to your brain. So I take a big sigh and say, can I do this again? And I said, well, let's take it out. We won't know if it's cancerous unless we take it out. So I had brain tumor surgery, also at Johns Hopkins. So the great thing is technology, like Dr. Regine was talking about, has evolved so much that they didn't have to open up my head from side to side. They went through my nose.
oh,
So it was an otolaryngologist or an ENT doc who went in, broke the nose, moved it out of the way. Neurosurgeon took the tumor, patched it up, and then reconstructed the nose.
wow. Well, you look
Who would have
beautiful.
thought?
Wow, wow.
So they were able to get the tumor. The good news is it was not cancerous, but it did take that head pain away and, was able to, I don't know if it would have turned cancerous if it'd been there a long time. So I was very glad to get it out. And some adjustments. There's times where I have some word finding issues and some balance issues a little bit, and a little bit of memory. But I'm here and I survived it and I'm pressing on.
Wow, Julie. Now, during which treatment plan did you spend time at Hope Lodge in Baltimore?
So all of it.
Oh, wow.
All of it. All those phases that I talked about.
Experience at Hope Lodge.
Yes. So as Dr. Regine mentioned, the Hope Lodge was such a lifesaver for me, literally, for a couple of reasons. First, I don't know that I would have been able to do my courses of treatment if I didn't have that place to stay.
Mm.
I was not
Why do you
local.
say that? Oh.
I was about 60 miles or so away. So traveling back and forth, especially on a daily basis, I was just going to be too sick to do that. And I can almost guarantee you I wouldn't have finished that course of treatment. I have friends today who have had a cancer diagnosis and chose not to get traditional radiation because of the amount of time they were going to have to spend away from their job, from their loved ones, from their families. So they made a different decision based on the fact that they didn't have a place, to go. It's very expensive to, stay in a hotel somewhere. And it's just not reasonable with this kind of traffic around the area to commute back and forth. It's very difficult. So it was literally a lifesaver. And as Dr. Regine mentioned, you're there with other people going through that journey. And that is a price. You just can't put a price tag on that. You become friends with these people and they are from all over. We've had people from Puerto Rico. We've had people from the Bahamas. We've had people from the Eastern Shore, from other states, all walks of life. It is not just people who need a handout, if you will. We've had one good friend of mine was a concert pianist, and from New York City. And we've had military like myself. So you have all walks of life. You come together. You're realizing that you're not alone. There's volunteers and staff members and people who come in and cook for you and share stories and best practices. Ask your doctor about this. This is what I'm taking. Try that, to manage some of your side effects. So really, it was a home away from home for us, but it gave me a chance at life, right? It gave me a chance to extend my life to be able to get the treatment. So I can't say enough about that.
So, Lieutenant Colonel, tell us about your experience with these civilians in Hope Lodge. How did that affect your mental well-being?
You know, a couple things about being in the military. I think for the first time, I realized how expensive healthcare was. I know that may sound funny, but when you're in the military, they do a really, really good job of making things very seamless for you. You don't see a bill. You don't,
Mm.
as if you're actively serving and something happens, you go to the doctor. You take care of it, you go home. There were people that had to mortgage their homes for treatment. There were people that didn't know how they were going to pay for the medication after their bone marrow transplant. And they would get sometimes grants from like Merck or one of the pharmaceutical companies would provide the actual follow-up care. So it was very educational for me that healthcare is very expensive, how blessed I was to have good healthcare and have that option, and how fortunate we were to come together from all walks of life. There were people who originally were like, I'm not feeling this Hope Lodge thing. I don't know that I want to be around other sick people. And they realized that it was those other sick people that actually were their strength to get them through. I mean, I am literally close to just about everybody that I stayed in the Hope Lodge with, and I had several stays in the Hope Lodge. And
Isn't
they
that
were part of my family now.
Oh, that's beautiful. So you talk about the military and medicine being taken care of in the military. Can you take us back into the military career of yours where you became a wounded warrior?
Yes. So one of the great things, I remember when I got sick, I thought, whew, this is hard, right? I'm sick in the military. I know I can't be the only one that's gone through something like this. And I knew the Army, I was in the Air Force. I knew the Army had a wounded warrior type of program. So I actually tried to get into their program because I was like, I need some brothers and sisters that I can go through this with. And I went to the internet again and just started searching and found out that the Air Force actually had a separate Air Force Wounded Warrior program. It was fairly new, but they had it. It was Chief of Staff sanctioned, congressionally mandated. So I picked up the phone and called, and they said, you absolutely should have been in this program a while ago, and let's get you registered. So they signed me up for the program. And it was, you want to talk about people who, that profession and that teamwork that Dr. Regine talked about, this team of people who come together, pour their heart and soul into making sure that warriors know they are not alone. And they do that several different ways. Adaptive sports is one of those ways. And I got introduced to adaptive sports, and the bug bit me, and I was hooked.
Let's tell us in which way, in what sport?
So when I was fully able-bodied, I was a runner, a sprinter. Well, lots happened, and I've gotten older, and I cannot move like that. The other thing is my lungs have been impacted by military and radiation. So I just can't do those type of things the same. But there are other ways that I can get involved. For instance, they have wheelchair sports that you can do. Basketball in the wheelchair.
Oh, listen, I know this because when I was running the Sixers back in 96 to 2001, I helped launch the Sixers. What were they called? The Sixers Wheelmen or something. We had a great wheelchair team. Great.
Very talented people. And it's hard to do, but it is so much fun. Wheelchair basketball, which I love. Wheelchair rugby.
Wow.
Wheelchair rugby, which is almost like it's kind of like soccer, but you roll the wheelchair through the goal instead, and you're passing the ball. So much fun. Also, seated sports. If you have any kind of injuries, which I do, you can do seated sports. So I started doing seated shot put and seated discus.
Oh, that's
Never threw a shot put or discus in my life. Those were usually for the little bit beefier folks with some power. Well, learning techniques and doing it from a seated position and being classified with people with similar injuries, was able to do that and just had a ball doing it. So They introduced us to all these adaptive sports, brought us out to these camps, they call them, trained us with Paralympic coaches and people who have volunteered their time to help you get better. Also, I love adaptive shooting, air rifle shooting.
You're probably good at that.
I'm actually, I didn't shoot a lot of the rifle as an officer. I wasn't in a career field where I shot the rifle a lot. I shot a pistol, but I love the rifle. And it doesn't have a lot of recoil. It's like shooting a 22, if you will. So love that. And it allows you to do some mindfulness with your breathing. With your breathing and really putting you in the moment to block out everything else and focus on a target. So it is, I love it. I really, really love it, and have had the great opportunity to do some competitions and actually compete in 2018 in the Warrior Games, and did pretty well. Took 3 gold medals and set 2 records.
Pretty well.
I was just blessed, really blessed.
So, Julie Walker, before we bring Dr. William Regine back on, do you mind sharing with us? We know how you were wounded. Your body was wounded via a cancer diagnosis. How was your body wounded? Obviously, you were not wounded because you are just a bolt of light and love.
Thank
How
you.
was your body wounded?
Yeah, so the illness in general and the surgeries you'll see me wearing these gloves and compression. Lymphedema is something that was a result of chemo/radiation. When you have lymph nodes taken out, particularly in your chest area, it can disrupt your lymphatic system. So lymphedema became an issue. Through the military, I had some I was a fuels officer and had some chemical damage to my lungs. Also some back injuries and eyes, ears, nose. I mean, when you come out of the military, you've been through the ringer a little bit. So all of that together, though, doesn't mean that I can't do something. I may not be able to do what I did before, but I can do something different. If I have to do it in a wheelchair, I do it in a wheelchair. If I have to do it seated, I do it seated. So just really walking past every injury. Pat, there was one thing that I did when I got my diagnosis. I walked by a mirror and I caught my eyes. I caught myself. And I looked at myself, and for years I had heard people, get a cancer diagnosis or get some type of devastating news, and you would say, "I'm so sorry." But this time it was me. And I remember saying to myself, why not me? Why not me? Because this might not even be about me. I consider myself a woman of faith, and all things work for good. Even the challenging, even the bad, even the devastating work for our good. And so I just looked at it like that and really sort of embraced not just being a survivor, but trying to thrive now in my newness, in my body. So
that's beautiful. Just wonderful. What an inspiration. Let's bring Dr. William Regine back on. Doc, between the two of you, we've got the 1-2 punch. There's Diana Haight, who's our director of the HEALED movement. I mean, I just love speaking with both of you. I just have 1,000 different questions. But since we have Dr. Regine back on, and I don't know the last time, Julie, you saw the doctor, but let's just talk briefly about this campaign that you're both co-chairing to help this copulage.
yes.
So, first of all, okay, Julie, go, Julie.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I'm so honored to be on this team with Dr. Regine. When he talked about the team, like, I can't say enough, the medical staff and the people who volunteer their time from other disciplines that are willing to resident there.
You're having a little difficult time to
multiple times how much of an impact it had on me, that there's people willing to.
Scotty, can you help with Julie's?
No,
you're freezing a little bit, Jolie.
Well, let's go over to Dr. Regine.
Yeah, so Pat, one thing I want to say right away, and it's easy to have Julie be a co-chair because it's one of the things, unlike a NASCAR driver, maybe when people ask, how do you do that every day? How do you deal with the challenge that associated with facing cancer? And she's an answer, right? I mean, what greater source of inspiration to watch a patient get through that journey and be part of the team that helped her get through that journey. And for us, for both of us, many of those people would not have that journey or would be unable to have that without the Hope Lodge. Our current Hope Lodge, it's been around since I think 87. It's got 26 rooms. It is filled between us and Johns Hopkins. You can imagine that there's cutting edge clinical trials and therapy we have at both those institutions. And there's a wait list. It can be 3 weeks long. For some people, their cancer they can't wait. And it's just added stress. So we're really excited now because the University of Maryland has this building across the street from the Hope Lodge. And they said, hey, you guys, we'll rent it to you for $1 a year. But all you got to do is raise $10 million to renovate it. And with people like Julie telling her story and the inspiration we get from all the benefits of the Hope Lodge, right? That stress reduction, the relief of not worrying about the financial burden of having a place to stay, and then the relief that comes to knows in fighting your cancer, you're getting the very best treatment because you're able to stay at home. All of that is really driving the start of a very successful campaign. We've just started. We've raised over $3 million in barely a year. So we got to get to 10. And for me, getting to work with Julie is going to be an experience itself. We've been to one fundraiser together. Apparently, some golf outing. Neither one of us golf. I'm more of eating fine Italian food and enjoying life. But we broke some record in that golf outing in terms of the fundraising, and most of it was Julie telling her story and her mission. And how could you not be inspired by listening to her as a cancer patient and realize how life-saving the Hope Lodge can be for a patient?
So Dr. Regine and Julie Walker, how, if anyone watching this podcast on ACS Healed Network or on any of the platforms of 6ABC would like to contribute to the Hope Lodge campaign Baltimore, what do they have to do?
They can actually just go to hopeishomebaltimore.org. Hopeishomebaltimore.org, all lowercase, and it will walk you through how to give. And I will just say, don't think you have to give this huge sum. Every single donation counts, and we are grateful for every single donation.
So, Diana, they've answered many of my questions, but I know you must have questions for either Julie or Dr. Regine. Fire away.
I do. And first, I want to say, as someone who's been with the ACS for quite a long time, we always say that Hope Lodge is our best kept secret, that so many people don't know about it. So it's awesome to be able to share today how this is one of the most wonderful things that donors to the American Cancer Society help provide. So that's wonderful. But Julie, I did have a question for you. You said that you had to do some research to find out about how to participate, what was out there for you, and you found that the Air Force did have a wounded warrior program. What advice do you have for other people surviving illness or cancer survivors who want to do something but just are a little afraid or maybe don't know? Like, what advice do you have for, because it sounds like it definitely has impacted your recovery. So what advice do you have for someone who is thinking about trying to find something?
Yeah, I would say, don't be afraid. You're not the only one who has that doubt. You're not the only one who is a little self-conscious because maybe your body is different than it was before, or your mind, right? We have, non-visible injuries too that people go through. And I'd say search online. there are a lot of groups out there on Facebook, on YouTube, where you can do it, especially now in this environment that we're in with COVID. You can do a lot of these things virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Just get out there. You know, you'd be surprised at how many people are in the same boat you are, have the same doubts, the same fears, the same apprehensions, but yet they've taken that first step. And I think you'll find that it'll make you a little more comfortable, and you might even want to participate in person with some of these. And who knows who needs to hear your story?
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Hey, Diane, you know what I'd add to that? When you talk about don't be afraid to search, I tell the story a lot. It's amazing to me. Somebody will get diagnosed with the cancer and they'll see one doc and they'll go, okay, and not do the homework Julie did in terms of what else might be there in cutting edge therapy and who else might see. And I tell people, it's amazing. People go shopping for a car and they'll go to 5 car dealerships. You get diagnosed with a cancer, like, hey, this is it. You got to like invest your time and make sure you're getting to the best place with the cutting edge therapies and all the offer. And again, yeah, it may be inconvenient, but if you're lucky enough to be able to go to a cancer center that has a Hope Lodge next to it, you can at least not worry about that. You'll have a place to stay and a place where you'll be greatly supported.
Yeah.
Doc, the other thing we don't want to glance over is in Julie's case, she did it twice, not once, but twice. She self-evaluated, was a self-advocate, and then went and searched out, okay, I feel this lump on my breast. Then again, I had this head pain, not headache, but a head pain. And she went and checked it out. She took the courage and the vulnerability to take a step forward where most people will just poo-poo it off until it's too late.
Yeah. The thing I'd worry about now, Pat, and we're starting to see is, and people talking about self-advocating, you know, people have been, I guess, really scared about getting some of this cancer screenings that we have, right? That diagnosed cancer early during COVID, right? So not getting their mammograms, not going for their colonoscopies, not getting their PSA. So we got to get people like, we're good. We've got all, you know, as a matter of fact, probably the safest place to walk into is a hospital or a healthcare setting where we have all of the hand sanitizer and all the procedures and all of that. Like, go get your cancer screening. I'd rather treat you, and early enough, I can treat you with stereotactic treatment and avoid maybe some of the surgery that, you know, Julie had to have. So go out and get your screening. Don't let the fear of COVID, you know, hold you back from getting that done.
Amen. Amen.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And knowledge is power, right? If you have the knowledge to know, okay, I can find a place to stay. I can get my treatment. I can search what's the best treatment to get. That gives you it empowers you to have something over this disease, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's coming at you, and this is like your punch back to it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this knowledge. I'm going to fight you.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I think the biggest cause of stress, and Julie's going to correct me, for a cancer patient, that sudden feeling of loss of control. And all the things she just said was her way of saying, wait a second. Yeah, I might not be knowing how this tumor is going to affect me, but I can control where I get treated, when I get treated, who I get treated. And that taking back some of that loss of control feeling goes a long way in reducing that stress. You have enough stress as a cancer patient. Control what you can control.
Yeah, it is a helpless feeling. It is a helpless feeling. But I think you can change that helplessness into a hopefulness.
You guys are throwing out nuggets one at a time, like they're grenades. These are wonderful. Now, I think, Diana, we have time for one more.
Right. So, Julie, just a quick question. How did you find Hope Lodge? How did you get connected during your treatment, and you're looking, wow, I have to go 60 miles away and housing's so expensive. How did you find Hope Lodge?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually, at Johns Hopkins, the Patient Service Center, I stumbled in there and just was talking to the staff, and once again, great folks, great team. And they said, hey, there's this place run by the American Cancer Society. We can get you on the waiting list. And I said, please sign me up. And so I encourage anybody, talk with your physicians. Like Dr. Regine and his team know about the Hope Lodge. So they are going to let their patients know, because you can be coming from, let's say somebody Googled and found the Maryland Proton Center from Arkansas. If they want to get treated there, they can get on the list to stay at the Hope Lodge in Baltimore. So don't be afraid that just because you're not from the Baltimore area, they've got world-class medical facilities in that area, like several of them. So
it's so funny. I've got one patient from Florida right now, one from California coming in for protons at the Maryland Proton Treatment that is staying at the Hope Lodge.
nice.
I will be staying at the Hope Lodge. But yeah, Julie's point is right on.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask. Just don't be afraid to ask, even if you're unsure. I had no idea about Johns Hopkins or anything else. I thought, I don't think it's too far away, and I think it's like world class. So I just literally started searching online.
Right.
But don't be afraid to ask.
Did you always have this courage not to be afraid to ask, or was it born of the military?
My father was military, so I think we learned it early.
And for any viewers who are interested in Hope Lodge, who might have a loved one somewhere who is looking for cancer treatment and somewhere far away from home, at cancer.org, there's a listing of all the Hope Lodges throughout the country.
Beautiful.
30
Thank
of them.
you.
30 different facilities.
And Julie and I really appreciate help with the campaign, because you heard what Julie said. They were going to put her on a waiting list. We got to eliminate that waiting list by making a bigger Hope Lodge.
Absolutely.
Give more hope to more cancer patients.
You heard Dr. William Regine and Lieutenant Colonel retired Julie Walker. I thank you both for the 1-2 punch on Hope Lodge and your expertise, Dr. Regine, and your courage and stick-to-itiveness to be a self-advocate and to not compare to the past and just live the present moment. And with that said, I'd like to end the gathering, 1, by saying thank you, and 2, by an attitude of gratitude. It's just a little prayer. Thank you for the grace in helping me to welcome what is right now, to bring everyone right into the now and say, thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace be you. Thank you.
Peace be you. Thank you.